It says we're live.
We are live.
Rock and roll. Fake Chris. Hey, Charlie.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I don't know the date. I do know the date. It's April 25th. It's right in front of my face.
That's right. Wow,
Because I got
saw
the big
that
fancy monitor.
big fancy stuff. Yeah.
Big
I read
fancy
mine is
stuff.
424, even though it says 425. My birthday.
And it's a Sunday. It's episode 82, man. 82
Yeah.
episodes.
We're ripping through them.
We're ripping through them. I'm Chris.
I'm Charlie.
Then we are.
Eight
Eight
balling,
balling, man.
as per usual.
You know, I thought of this would have been a good week to have Lainey on if she's feeling gutsy about like speaking up. Brett Weinstein did a show, and he's kind of the guy who got me thinking about the trial. Anyway, this country needs some fucking direction. It needs to be given direction.
Yeah.
By some people who get it. So earlier in the week, Charlie sent me a couple of texts. The first one, like right after the trial. And before the trial, I looked at the autopsy and thought that the prosecution would have a hard time being definitive about when this guy died and what he died of. Charlie basically kind of sent that to me in a text, like, really? And I said, well, blame the jury, which is true, and blame the prosecution. But then the more I thought about it, and then also I can't take credit for this, but it was everywhere. But fucking Joe Biden saying, I pray for the right outcome, and then speaking directly to the virtues of the family of, now all the names, is it George Floyd?
George Floyd is the trial.
Yeah. And then Maxine Waters, saying like she wants heightened reaction should there not be a guilty charge.
Yeah.
And then there was somebody, so when I thought of Biden, I thought, that's tantamount to jury tampering. And apparently that's what somebody said about Maxine Waters. And the judge said, it's not, but, feel free to take it up on appeal. So
He said, you have grounds for appeal. He didn't say, feel free. He said, I think you have grounds for an appeal. Yeah.
I don't think that's the exact words. That would be a little too definitive. Because he would be steering the jury there as well. But
No, this is after the verdict, I thought.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, his instructions to the jury were something about, disregard it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, when politicians start making comments, all of a sudden, like the whole concept and precept of the U.S. Constitution and having a state-free trial judged by your peers with not a preponderance of evidence, but beyond all reasonable doubt, kind of goes out the window when you have the fucking president starting to make comments about the trial while the jury's still gathering information.
Deliberating. Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't even deliberating, I don't think, when he said that, did they? Or were they out? I don't know the
It
timing.
just coincided that those two words meant they were literally, right.
Yeah, I mean,
Not during literal deliberation.
I just did a brief, educate myself real quickly on my phone this morning. But man, oh man, I think this will go to appeal. And this is not to say that what Derek Chauvin did was in any way acceptable, that the guy's anything less than a fucking sociopath who should never have been a cop. It just, our trial process, it's a separate piece of the puzzle.
And there's a reason that, I don't know, that those three entities are distinct from each other, right? Judicial, executive, and legislative, right? Shouldn't be. It's not like, I don't know. There's a reason that it, to me, separation of church and state kind of comes to mind. But like you're right, like separation of the exhalation of verdicts and like political, which right now all politics has become is just fucking like grandstanding anyway. And if you don't believe that, you're not paying attention to what's going on in our country, I would say.
But where my head was at, and I agree with you, is once you have any politician, any governmental body, let alone the fucking president, right, the executive in chief, the whole idea of, I mean, the whole emancipation of the United States was to be free from tyranny. And when you have the leader of the whole state saying, I pray for the right outcome, with a clear, to me, implication or, you know, direction on inference, which might be the exact same thing, I don't know, then we failed. The system's failed.
Yeah. No, but you don't go as the president and during the week of the trial you meet with the family of George Floyd and then say, I met with the family. I'm hoping for the right outcome. You know,
I
like,
pray.
Dun, dun, dun.
Quote, I pray for the right outcome.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Oh, my. I don't know if we do a deep dive into this or just leave it on its face.
I wanted to actually discuss the outcome of the trial. We don't have to do that, but you're right that there's those things on their own kind of like should have led to a mistrial. Well, I'm not a judge, so whatever. But could have quite possibly been grounds for a mistrial and are definitely grounds for an appeal. But I think even the case itself, to me, the evidence that was laid out would indicate that in retrospect, the verdict that was given, the jury had more than the evidence on their mind in that my home is going to get burned down in a riot if this verdict isn't guilty as charged. Which to me is another, messed up part of the, I'm trying to swear less on the show, which is another messed up part of the of the process where, it's like the judge said, I instructed them not to watch the news, and, I believe that they did. And it's like, dude, if you're watching TV,
really,
like that
right.
stuff can be written into the show. It doesn't even matter. It could just be like topical events. Oh, wow, like there's a shooting of a, I think that's silly.
Right. Yeah. Fuck. That's a show right there. Everything's so conflated anymore in terms of politics and shows and, oh my God.
Yeah. The point is, it was not, this was done for such a high profile case. It was handled very poorly, sloppily. Like, jury sequestered, right? Why don't they just sequester him?
They should have been.
You just get, should have been. And Biden was saying something. He was saying, like, I wouldn't be saying this if they weren't sequestered or whatever. And it's like, they weren't sequestered. So I think he got that wrong, right?
He thought they were sequestered. He did sequester them during deliberation, I think, right? But not during the trial.
Different. But
they should have been sequestered during the trial. This is just
the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was pointless. Maybe it was pointless, right? Because we've been having, protests, riots, activities, fucking cancel culture for a year.
Yeah. Maybe. To me, it seems like they were judging off of more than just the evidence, which is what I'll say. And that was your whole point. Is like, hey, it's don't be the president and say this shit. But
Yeah, mine
I don't
was
know.
more specific. I think you're right. I think they had other things on their mind, I think was the language you used, which I think is a good way to put it. In terms of, if we do anything other than guilty on all three counts, what's going to happen that night in Minnesota
Within
and
30 minutes.
within 30
Yeah.
minutes, within 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I think people were like primed and ready,
Yeah.
fucking torches in hand.
So to speak.
You know,
Yeah. They were all
it,
gathered already. They were already gathered around the courthouse and everything. But yeah.
you know, just to shift gears real quickly, it was so disappointing when, what was the guy? Chauncey?
Chauvin.
No. The guy who got shot by the woman.
Dewan,
And,
right? Dante, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Duante. Is it right?
Yeah.
So
Dante,
that
right?
night,
10 miles from the
in
courthouse.
that town, there was, I think, a Dollar General, and I saw footage of people literally like walking in, looking around, grabbing a few things off of shelves, and walking out. You know what?
Yeah.
It was, people got to express themselves
Yeah.
in terms of fucking looting and riotous behavior for a year. It is now time to put cops in front of stores. And if you're walking out with shit in your hands, you just get fucking cuffed and you get taken away. That's larceny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's
In
it's
terms of
that's
being
different
like,
than protesting. Yeah.
in terms of being hyper politically correct and saying, the country's been in, I don't know, a state of whatever, frustration, and this is something that needed to happen, fine. It went on for a year. It's time to enforce the fucking law. You can't burn buildings. You can't steal people's shit. It's time. Lawlessness is just over. It's acceptable to walk into a store and just take shit. Fuck that. It's
And the idea that you can do that because you're like, what did you say? The excuse has been our community's mourning process is different. You're like, oh, so when you're mourning, the thing that's normal is to go and just become thieves. Like, I don't know. Like, we just become thieves, and we not only do we become thieves, but we actually steal shit. That's like, someone who's saying that is like more racist than any KKK guy could possibly imagine. He'd be like, that's like what? To me, that's messed up.
we kind of apples and oranges, but I get your point. It's
You understand
it's
what I'm
totally
saying? It's like
messed
that's-
up. It's upside
Yeah.
down. It's fucked up, right? Try to swear less,
Yeah.
but that is the epitome of
swear as much as you
fucked up.
Yeah. Sorry about my nose, everybody. Yeah, I have like allergies. I took a Zyrtec, but too late. And I just picture those Korean guys on their rooftops, during the Rodney King riots.
LA, right? Yeah.
When LA riot, yeah, and they were just standing there with rifles. They're like, "Come do whatever you're gonna do. Just know that I'm here with my buddies, and we have guns." What about that? Like, why don't you? That's part of why, you have the Second Amendment is if cops aren't going to do something. And cops, by the way, can kind of get the job done without death. So, they what they do is, like you said, you get arrested, you get cuffed, and you get arrested for larceny.
But it has to be early and demonstrative and deliberate, right?
Strike hard.
You
strike
break the
fast.
door. You break the door of Dollar General. Bam! You're on your face, getting cuffed. Who's next?
Yeah.
Right? And you got 5 cops on each side of the door. The store will not be looted. And you call, I don't know, whatever the municipality's branch is or whatever that boards up the door. I mean, literally, have somebody come board up the door, right there on the spot, and with cops. You ain't getting in here. We don't steal. This is not this is not a protest. This is not part of a protest.
Yeah.
These are property crimes. We don't do this.
Yeah.
Oh my.
It's unfortunate that even is the waters around that are muddied in today's day and age. Like, okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Speaking of muddy water, the Micaiah Bryant thing. Did you hear about that or see anything about that?
It rings a bell, but no.
She was the girl with a knife this past week who got shot.
Oh yeah.
She got shot during a knife fight is basically what.
While she was stabbing another girl, right?
And the CNN is like, kids used to have knife fights all the time when we were younger. It's sometimes with knives, sometimes without knives. There's no reason. Joanne Reed goes on her show and says, there's a kid brings a penknife to school and, start using it to threaten somebody, and a teacher can disarm that situation, and she doesn't have a gun, or they don't have guns, and it's like a penknife, which is like that much, right? And that fucking whatever. Excuse me for cursing. God damn. Sorry. Oh, I did it again. That a penknife, which is different. I'll just say, like.
Well, you can kill somebody with a penknife, but
you can, but like it's not that, right? This could get any organ in your body. You're getting someone, and this is more closer to what she had, right? So, like the idea that they're just saying like we don't need cops intervening, don't police our cities. If I was the mother of that girl or the father of that girl who didn't get stabbed because there's a cop there that shot someone else,
you're saying thank you.
That's the reason. You're buying them dinner. You're like, where can I send you on vacation? Like, what can I, pay to have your driveway paved or your whatever? Like, what can I do? Like, that's, you're doing everything you can.
Right. I saw the footage of that. She was like on the girl.
About to stab her.
Yeah.
It was like, her arm was like this. Like, she was about to stab her. And then pop, 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 and she dies. Whatever. He was a big target, though. That's lucky.
So,
big girl.
So teachers took care of the situation. Yeah. So what's a cop supposed to do? Like grab the girl's arm and get stabbed in the fucking eye?
Or in the neck? Wait, that same day, there was a case in Cincinnati where two teenage boys, I think it was, both like 13-ish. There was one of them stabbed another one with a knife in the neck, and the other kid died. So don't tell me that that's not grounds, or that's not the use of deadly force on somebody else, which merits the use of deadly force in return. Like, you can't tell me that that's not literally the same day another kid got stabbed to death in the neck with a knife. So,
that's why cops carry a gun right there.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Have you ever seen a video, the 21-foot rule?
It's like you don't want to get within 21 feet of a.
If you don't have your gun out and ready to shoot, when somebody's within a 21-foot radius, your life's in danger. So they showed, how long it takes to unsheath whatever when it's in your holster, unholster, and get your gun in a shooting position. So if somebody has a bat or has the physical ability to take you down, or has a knife or whatever, it's 21 feet for an average, like kind of fast-ish man. So if somebody's within 21 feet and you're not ready to and your defense is a gun, and you're not ready, at the ready, then you might as well not even use your gun.
Wow.
It would be interesting to pull it up here. I don't think I can do it while we talk.
Watch that, but I think I've heard of that before. And by the way, I just want to point something out what Chris said just now. He said, if your defense is a gun, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is that this weapon is also a tool for protecting lives, not just taking them. It's like part of why they have that is for defense. I think that's just people would never necessarily call it that, which is which is sad, but that's the case. I just wanted to illustrate that.
Well,
Um,
in all as screwed up as some of them have been, right? The guy who fell asleep in his car and resisted and ran and got shot in the back. So that was bad. You know, the woman mistaking her gun for a taser. What a joke, right? So she shouldn't have been on the force, or should have been, had a desk job or whatever. The thing is, none of these situations started with the police just deciding, hey, I'm going to unholster my gun and just start flailing it around at the first person who walks by. Here's an interesting statistic.
Yeah, they just drive around black neighborhoods and
in
point
police
the gun in people's faces.
in police shootings, and I forget if this is in all shootings or in unarmed shootings. I think it's unarmed shootings. In unarmed shootings, 90%, in 90% of all the cases, the police were called to the scene via 911. So
That makes sense.
when it gets presented as though, people are walking out the door and getting, assassinated by crazy cops, the fact of the matter is 90% of the time, someone right there, and I think 90% of that time, so over 80% of the time, the person's black and is the caller. Somebody's calling 911 saying, crime in progress, crime in progress. Cops show up, and so these aren't unprecipitated events with regard to just the cops acting alone, if that made sense.
No, that and there, same thing. Joanne Reed on her show this morning, she was saying it might have been. I listened to the call, and it could have been Micaiah Bryant making the call. That little girl, her making the call. And first of all, shut the hell up. You did not listen to the call if you think it was her, because there's someone in the background, and I'm quoting here, so it technically doesn't count as me swearing, but someone in the background of that call saying, "Now there's somebody with a knife, yada yada," and then in the background you can hear, "I'm gonna fucking stab you. I'm gonna fucking kill you." You can hear someone in the background saying that. So. Not necessarily that girl who's calling, I don't think. And then the second call was just when someone's saying, "Oh, hi, there's a cop here already. Goodbye."
So that was a recorded 911 call.
That was from the stabbing shooting. Yes, which is funny to call it that.
But it was not. It was also 911.
Correct. Yeah.
So somebody said, "Emergency, police, please send the police."
Yeah, essentially.
I mean, George Floyd was different because, a store owner called either the cops or 911, probably 911. We got a counterfeiter here. And again, this doesn't excuse, it's just to frame all of these encounters. I told you that CNN guy. Where do I go? Where do I go if I want to go for a walk or take a ride on my bike?
Around. I don't know. Yeah.
I would love to go
outside
to that guy's neighborhood and take a picture of his house and take a walk down the street and say, "This is the neighborhood this guy is suggesting he doesn't feel safe in."
But screw that. Let's not, you and I, let's get a guy from an actual poor neighborhood, a black guy from a poor neighborhood, and give him a bike and have him ride around that guy's neighborhood and see if he gets shot. Like I don't know. That seems like a controlled experiment to me, right? That's a good,
I think it's actually out of control, but take that guy
that's the point.
And say, "Do you feel safe here, relative to where you grow,
this
you
is the safest
live?"
I've ever felt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Crazy.
Be like, other than the fact that the guard at the gate took my 40. Before I came in, because they have a no guns rule, I feel pretty safe. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
When you said 40, I thought you were talking about a big bottle of beer.
Oh, like a 40-ounce beer? No, I mean like a 40
Yeah.
caliber Smith and Wesson. Yeah. Like, get it? Because he felt unsafe because he didn't have his gun.
I think the correct vernacular is my 9.
My 9. Yeah. Well, not all guns are 9s though.
No, I know.
You could have had a deuce deuce. Chris carries a deuce deuce.
That's right. And a deuce
Yeah.
trace,
No.
right? The
It's a deuce
5.7
trace.
is a 20. No, it's 22 also.
Oh, technically.
It's 223.
I think
Anyway,
it's called a Cinco de Siete. Just kidding. This is stupid. Anyway, right, moving on.
hey, quick AOC update. So Charlie sent me a link to a portion of a video where AOC was talking to this guy who was in charge of some, what would you call it? It was like a community, group, bigger in scale than that. But this guy was part of a Jewish community group. I guess is the best way I can put it.
The word that comes to mind with Jewish and me is community. So, yeah, we're all about that stuff.
But yeah, so this guy does a podcast, and AOC is, I don't know if he was the rep in this, she was the rep in this guy's district, or just, a New York, Brooklyn politician. But he had her on his podcast, and he asked her about a dual state solution for the Israel-Palestine conflict. And you know what? I'm going to try to bring this up. So I questioned in my mind that this was so absurd, that maybe this was like cut and spliced or taken out of context, because we've all seen that done. And there are plenty of people who have their issues with AOC that I would not put past them. Okay, Google. Oh, no, I'll do it a different way. Put past them doing this. So here we go. So here she is, because I almost couldn't believe it when I heard it, listened to it the second time. So just listen to this.
Hello, shalom, and welcome to this episode of Congressional Conversations, where we discuss the priorities of New York's Jewish community with members of the New York Congressional Delegation. And I'm your host, Michael Miller, the Executive Vice President and CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York, JCRCNY. And today, hailing from the 14th Congressional District in the Bronx and in Queens, we welcome Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Representative Ocasio-Cortez serves on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, the House Committee on Financial Services, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus, among many other responsibilities that she has on Capitol Hill. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me.
The mainstream Jewish community supports the establishment of two states for two peoples as the most sustainable and achievable means of providing justice as well as human and democratic rights. Both the Jewish people and the Palestinian people have a right to self-determination. So what actions do you think can be taken to support movements towards peace, both between Israelis and Palestinians, as well as within the entire region, such as the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, so, earlier just now, you and I were talking about the what and the how.
Yes.
And I think that when we talk about establishing peace, centering people's humanities, protecting people's rights, it's not just about the what and the end goal, which often gets a lot of focus, but I actually think it's much more about the how and the way that we are coming together and how we interpret that what and how we act in the actions that we take to get to that what. And so what this really is about is that it's a question more than anything else about process. And so we really need to make sure that that we are valuing a process where all parties are respected and have, a lot of equal opportunity to really make sure that we are negotiating good faith, etc. That being said, I think that there's just this one central issue of settlements, because if the what that has been decided on is to stay, then the action of settlements it's not the how to get to that what. And so, I think that that's a central thing that we need to make sure that we center, and that we value Jewish and rather we value Israeli. We value the safety and the human rights of Israelis. We value the safety and the human rights of Palestinians in that process that is similar and that on equal footing. And so all of that is extremely important in that process. And,
they're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
That little ending was edited in. So I just wanted to
Oh,
make
it
sure.
wasn't actually there? Just kidding.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that this was genuine. So I found the entire thing, which is like 39 minutes long, the entire podcast. And indeed, so he doesn't introduce himself and say who he is and welcome her, and then it goes right to that. There's about probably 25 minutes of the show, which is way more local. He asks her about being a congresswoman and all this stuff.
I was like, that's an interesting question right off the bat, is something that had nothing to do with New York.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Right. So then they got into, they talked about a lot of local stuff. Then they got into like history and being taught how we're failing. And a lot of people you and I like to listen to, and some that we don't like to listen to, talk about the failings of history. Like we don't teach what Stalin did. We don't teach what Hitler did. We don't teach what Mao did. And what happens when you burn something down and start fucking with the system when you really don't know how to run and or implement anything. You just simply embrace an ideal and let things run, ultimately amok. Yeah. Anyway, so where I'm going with this is he started talking about the fact that he thinks that education on history, and in particular his interest in the position he holds, Holocaust, the Holocaust and the history associated with that, and people don't even know. He said 3%. I think he said 3% of New Yorkers can name 2 Holocaust camps, and I can only name 2. But whatever. But 3% is pretty damn low, right? So she gets into that. And she says, yes, we're failing on our education. And she starts making shit up about, I think at least. I take that back. I think she started making shit up in terms of statistics and spending and all the stuff that used to happen. And then through terms of, conservative executives, this was all defunded. And now nobody gets taught all these egregious historical happenings, Holocaust, slavery, all that. Again, which I think a lot of people speak to is potentially true. So when she was talking about the Holocaust, and she said, and the fact, and I was like, I think she doesn't have a clue. She said, I think she doesn't have a clue generally, just so we're all clear. But anyway, in terms of when he talked about education on the Holocaust, she said, and the idea that this was going on right under our nose just speaks to the fact that people don't know what they need to know in terms of what's going on. She said, this was going on right under our nose. I don't think she understands that it was part of World War II and the whole fucking Hitler machine. I don't think she knows that.
You think? What do you think she thinks it was like in America? What do you think?
I think she has no clue. And she was just saying what she needed to say to get through this interview.
Anybody who knows real history knows that the Holocaust, the shit that was going on during the Holocaust during World War II was kind of a reason that America was not necessarily 100% sure that they needed to get involved, because we didn't even know it was true, because even Germany was keeping it under wraps, kind of. We didn't even know that it was actually going on, and then when we got eyes on it, it was like, let's get in there.
Did you see Band of Brothers?
No.
You said you love, that era in terms of history.
I do love that era, yeah.
World War II is very romantic. We have romanticized World War II hugely. And, Western Europe, the UK, us. Certainly the UK and us. All the films that continue. So, Band of Brothers, you should watch it. It's I have the DVD set. It's a 10-episode DVD set, and it's pretty damn good. I think it won an Emmy.
Oh, wow.
In terms of, the Battle of the Bulge, how brutal it was, Bastogne, all this, it's really interesting. Anyway, one of the episodes is they're moving through Germany as the Allies begin to, take hold, and they come on Auschwitz or Nuremberg, whatever it was. And this guy walks in, and he's like, whoever the CEO was, hey, Captain, you got to see this. And it shows them walking in and just the horror of the whole thing. And it was like, yikes. I mean, it just, you can think of it, but this was a movie that totally personified it.
Showed you something, yeah.
It showed you some that made it more visceral. And wow. And then if you see the pictures, the real pictures, wow. But back to AOC, for her to say, and to think that, this is, if it's not verbatim, it's damn close, and to think that this was happening right under our nose, that suggests to me she has no clue what this had to do with, even that it was maybe part of World War II.
It wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. I don't know what her marks were in school, but it's definitely something you learn in history class. I took a class called World War II with Mr. Tom Sermet. Great class, but I don't think everybody needs that much. In high school? Yeah, in high school. I don't know that everybody needs that much information on World War II, but I liked it,
Well, even in American history, World War II should be a day or a week. A day, I guess, a couple days. Pretty relevant.
There were several topics where we did more than one day. Yeah.
No, I'm saying,
and it was nice
just American history, like a class you have to take.
No, that's what I'm talking about. In like American history, there's a couple topics that would definitely be one of them. The Revolutionary War, Civil War, shit like that.
Yeah, American history should start with like maybe the Jamestown colonies, or maybe a little earlier.
I think they start with Roanoke. Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, it's funny. Is every year, like American history, you pretty much go from, well, at least in maybe not in high school, but in grade school, it'd be like you go from Roanoke all the way up to the industrial era, and you mean to get to the present at some point, but you just run out of time because there's some stupid kids in class who needed to go over a couple things more than one day. So like the curriculum didn't fit within the new time zone. So it's like You always just end at the industrial era. And I remember every year learning about kids getting their fingers cut off in the hot dog machines, little child laborers in the United States.
In hot
So
dog
that's
machines. Are you serious?
or whatever. Or not kids,
Whatever.
but that's Slaughterhouse. What is that called? That's called Slaughterhouse 5 or Slaughterhouse 14?
I've not.
That
Oh,
book?
I didn't read that.
It's pretty much about that.
It is. It's
And
about
like
child
made
labor.
Americans
Wow.
made Americans just like, ooh, that's gross. Maybe we should get something called the FDA in here. Yeah. Yeah, history is important. I don't know what else to say. Obviously, I believe that. I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying that facetiously, but I could totally see her not knowing a lot of shit. Let me just put it that way. Let me just say I could totally see her not knowing about most things the average high school grad knows about.
Yeah. I was talking to my brother about her. And again, the idea that she made it into her late 20s and only
A lot.
achieved the level of bartender. The math, there's just something wrong with the math. And to go from her life experience, being confined to the East Coast, in terms of politics, being a volunteer for, I don't know, something. I forget. And she did community service.
She's very
but
pretty.
She's pretty. And she likes clothes.
She's very pretty.
She's very... Hi, Lucy. And she's very, very clear about that.
I think.
fact-
let me say this about AOC.
Lucy.
I'm going to pay her a very nice compliment. I think of all the Congress women out there, she's easily the most attractive. That's all I have to say. That's the only compliment I can give. Sorry.
There's her lipstick YouTube video. The comment she
how
makes
she does
about the importance of makeup and fashion is...
Oh, my God.
Have you heard it?
No, I haven't heard it, but
You got to hear this. It's alarming. It's alarming. Oh my gosh. Sorry, got to do it. It really scares me that, one, she's in Congress, and two, that she's looked upon as a leader. It's
my girlfriend worked at a place. While you're pulling that up, my girlfriend worked at a place called BDA. It was just like they were a licensee for AT&T service providers. They were
Yeah.
basically people that knock on your door and say, "Hey, how do you like your internet service? Or your phone service?" And
I liked it a lot better
meeting with
until
them
you
one
knocked on my
time.
fucking door. Sorry.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Right? Yeah. That's basically how the job went. And she doesn't work there anymore and all. That's kind of where we're going. But one of the meetings, she was like the boss, She was like the assistant director. So there was like the main boss, and she was like the next step. And they'd have these meetings where it's kind of just like the point of the meetings was like to make you more professional for the future of these pointless meetings that are designed to make you more professional. That kind of makes sense?
Yes.
So, like, they would be like, pick a topic to go over with the group, and then we're going to just keep doing this. And then, like, I don't know, it didn't really ever get anywhere. They just, like, had these meetings for the sake of meetings. But I was at her place, and this is early on in our relationship, and I was, I slept over, and she had COVID or something, so I was listening to the meeting, right? And they were just talking about, like, fashion. Like, how the fashion makes you feel stronger and how that makes you feel more confident. And it was a freaking 1 hour meeting, and so many people pitched in on this about how having a clean car and a clean room and what clothes you wear and all that stuff makes you, like, feel more important as a business person. And I was like, Sarah, you need to get as far away from this company as possible. That's like when I told her that. I was like, you need to get the hell away from these people. These are literal retards. You need to, like, run away. You can't be around that.
Run away, run
And
away.
yeah, and she was like, what? We have meetings like that all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I know, you have that. I worked at a pretty serious company. If we had ever had a meeting like that took an hour out of our day, that's insane to me. So this thing about AOC, taking the time to do this, it's kind of funny to me. But
Well, listen to what she says. Just listen to what she says.
I like to create my own world. You
Whoops.
live in it.
What just happened? Okay.
Star
Okay.
Hello, Vogue. Buenos dias. This is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I'm
Buenos
here
dias.
to walk you through my skincare and red lip routine. So I'm really excited to spend my morning with you. Let's do it. I have not gotten much sleep last night at all. Welcome to life in politics.
Very
We are trying to
self-aggrandizing.
get people health care,
Welcome to life
making
in
sure that they are
politics.
taken
I'm
care
awake
of in
all
a
the time.
pandemic. People are fighting too much, and so I have got.
Oh, I don't know if you guys caught that, but she said, "I'm busy trying to get people health care," or "I'm getting people health care." Really?
Trying to take care of
she
people during a
believes that.
pandemic.
She's deluded. She believes I'm getting people health care. So what? Are you going down to Skid Row with a clipboard and signing people up? Is that what you're doing? Or are you working are you working a booth? Hey, come here. Come here, come here. Do you have health care? No, we got to get I got to replay that.
Oh, come on. Sign up. What was it that Nancy Pelosi said about black people that one time?
I feed them.
She said, I feed them. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah, in
I
a
feed
Wolf
them.
Blitzer. A Wolf Blitzer interview. She couldn't I got to hand it to Wolf,
Disgusting.
man.
Yeah.
He went away. You see CNN or MSNBC? Whatever.
He's CNN, which is shocking to me because it's like, oh my God, far right-wing news media, CNN, Nancy Pelosi loses her shit and has to be aggressive or whatever.
Yeah, it was Wolf Blitzer.
I feed them.
I feed them.
fuck?
Yeah, she lost her fucking mind.
That should be the most
It was
softball
beautiful.
interview of your life. Yeah, that's she's losing
I
it too.
feed them. Who do you feed?
Oh my God.
You feed me? You fucking feed me? Because I'm disabled? Fuck you, lady. God.
Dude, lady. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was talking with. Never mind. Go ahead, play the thing.
Okay, hey, save that thought.
Lip routine. So I'm really excited to spend my morning with you. Let's do it. I have not gotten much sleep last night at all. Welcome to life in politics. We are trying to get people health care, making sure that they are taken care of in a pandemic. People are fighting too
didn't do
much, and so I have bags under my eyes. And so I always start with a toner. This is just one that I happen to be using right now. So I just apply some toner and just wet my face.
Maybe it goes longer than I thought for
I
her
am
to
following up with
She already said it.
vitamin C.
know about the importance of fashion.
I just add a little
Oh.
bit of moisturizer. So I get questions
Here we go.
all the time on my Instagram stories about skincare routines and makeup and what I do. And the reason why I think it's so important to share these things is that, first of all, femininity has power. And in politics, there is so much criticism and nitpicking about how women and femme people present ourselves. Just being a woman is quite politicized here in Washington. There's this really false idea that if you care about makeup or if your interests are in beauty and fashion, that's somehow frivolous. But I actually think these are some of the most substantive decisions that we make, and we make them every morning. So moving on.
Hey, Chris, how long have women been in politics? in
Some
America?
of the most substantive decisions we make. Wow. Right? If you're into fashion, whatever, to each his own. No issues there. They're some of the most substantive decisions we make each morning.
First woman in
Would
Congress.
not a women's group lose their fucking mind if they heard that?
Okay, so she said being a woman is politicized. If you wear makeup, it's considered frivolous. Now, Jeanette Rankin, men have to learn this lesson. It's been too long for them to not have learned that makeup is just something women do. Jeanette Rankin, first woman in the American Congress. Guess when she joined? Was elected. November 5, 1918. They've had 100 fucking years to find out that women wear makeup and shit. It's not politicized at all. What are you talking about? That's so, what do you say, self-aggrandizing. It's like, oh, it's substantive and it matters so much and people care so much more about me in my mind than they do in reality. That's what she's saying. No one gives a shit. Everyone knows that women wear stuff on their face. It's fine. We're over it. I don't understand.
If you listen to the whole thing, she just throws in these tidbits. And we're 4 days in D.C. and 3 days back with our constituency, and it's a lot of travel, and it's so hard. But that's life as a congresswoman. She says, congresswoman, she must say it 10 times in 3 minutes.
It's because that's the only thing that's important in her life, and
It's-
because she was a bartender. And
But you know what? What it made me think of when I was like pulling these things up, like just feeding my. Gosh, this is not healthy. But anyway, that's my issue. It's like she's playing house. You know how you
playing
when you're a little
Congress.
kid, you play house. So she's playing Congress, but she's playing Congress while she does Congress. I honestly think this woman's connection to reality is not complete.
Hanging by a thread.
You
She's
know,
interesting. I like seeing her in the news just because she's hot. But I'm trying to think, how do we stop this from? I will say this: she's good at the makeup. I can see why they have her doing a video, but the
it's
and then
her
she's
video.
saying
It's just her sitting
she's
at
saying
home
like
doing her video.
she just did it. She said,
Yeah.
I have bags under my
Yeah,
eyes.
it's not a Vanity
I've been up
Fair
all
or
night.
anything like that.
I had a late flight. Oh, and it's like I'm picturing some legless veteran from Vietnam. Not Vietnam, because that was a bad war. Let's think of another one. Some legless vet from the Civil War, being like, just like,
Well,
yeah, I'm homeless now because I can't work. He's just like losing his mind, and society forgot about him. And she's like, I have bags under my eyes. It's like the worst thing ever. It's like, shut the fuck up. You're being here.
I lost my leg.
To me, that's yeah, yeah,
An
yeah,
IED, lady.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Boom. In a war that we didn't really need to be there. If it's an IED, you're in Iraq, whatever. In a war where we didn't actually really need to be there. It just kind of, we were just there. Because of people like you, by the way, spending time doing fucking makeup rather than reading the goddamn dossiers on WMDs. But, yeah, that's tremendously silly to me.
Lucy's in the room.
How do we prevent her from becoming the next Nancy Pelosi, though? Because I don't see her getting unelected anytime soon. Or I don't see her not getting elected again anytime soon.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, the other thing I was talking about with my brother is when people like have this tear it down mentality. Do you ever watch this show, How It's Made? Or How
Yeah.
Things Are Made? I forget. If you watch that show and you look at, you know, things that were invented. One of them was, and maybe I've said this before on the show, one of them was 3M making insulation. And you need insulation. We need wood. We need insulation. We need drywall. We need nails, right? We need homes. We need electricity and air conditioning. Right? Without air conditioning, even in Michigan, I die. I'm dead. Heat stroke. Game over. So if you tore down, you know, if there's more than one factory that makes, or maybe more than 2 factories that make fiberglass insulation, I'd be surprised. So I watched, this was one of the things on the show, how you make this stuff and when they started making it and all these little iterations of how the process has been improved and how it gets, if you watch all this massive machinery that makes this fiberglass insulation and the fact that this stuff is or was so freaking cheap, it's amazing. And if you tear that factory down, who the fuck's going to know how to put it back up? Nobody. There's no instruction book on how to rebuild the fiberglass factory, how to rebuild the plywood factory, how to rebuild the drywall factory. You know, God forbid that people really do start tearing shit down. Wow.
Well, now that How It's Made immortalized that via a How It's Made episode, we'll know everything that we need to know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but you're going to get rid of
But,
those movies because we don't need them. The government's going to decide what we do and don't need to watch.
Well, you're right. That's why everything being archived is different. Digitally archived is a different kind of tragedy waiting to happen. in the event that shit gets wiped out, and you're like, man, I used to have like physical copies of this stuff. What the fuck do I do now? In government intervention, whatever you want to call it, but yeah.
My oh my. Oh,
Me, oh my.
one other thing on the Weinstein show, Wheeler, I forget his first name, the mayor of Portland, has finally actually
know.
taken a stand on the rioting, and has said,
No
like,
way.
yeah, he made a statement
said,
on,
I
like
think,
tearing shit down, destroying properties, like, we're not. This is no longer a lawless city.
He said
He
there,
actually-
I think could it's kind of bad. I think I don't know, or it's good, or it's good. I don't know. It could be bad. I don't know. What a coward! It took him this long to say anything.
Yeah. Especially when last summer somebody tried to light his freaking condo building on fire, and he just put up with it.
What?
You didn't know that?
What?
He lives.
didn't know that.
He lives in a condo complex that's much like an apartment complex. So you walk
That's
in and there's a
hilarious.
big lobby, and then all the condos are up above via elevators/stairs, and
Gotcha.
elevator for me, and the protesters came in and lit a fire in the lobby, and I don't know if they were just if it was a gesture or were literally trying to burn the place down, but it wasn't his home, just his home, so it'd be egregious enough to try to burn down the guy's home, especially when he's letting people do whatever they want. But two, it was, I don't know if
Yeah,
it
what
was
is
10 families or 30 families or 30 units. They lit the
You're not letting
freaking
us
lobby
burn
on
enough.
fire.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that wasn't enough to give the guy the gumption to say, wow, we've crossed a line.
I love that word gumption. But yes, you're right. He should have been like, okay, I'd like to not die in a fire. I think probably most of my constituents probably agree on that sentiment. Maybe
That's
we
a
should
fair
do something about
thought.
this. Hey, police chief. Yeah. Hey, police chief. What do we do about saving people from dying in these riot fires? Well, I have a plan here. It's called smash and grab. Execute Order 66. That's why you have a police force, you dummy.
Oh, did you know he's also the police commissioner in Portland?
The
That's
same
part
guy?
of the problem. Yeah. Their mayor is their police
What the
commissioner.
So, maybe we should. Maybe they should work on that, splitting up those two things there. You just get another
Perhaps.
guy. That's it. You just get another guy. Who's the
Sure.
second in command right now at the police station, in the police force over there? You just get that guy to become the new police commissioner, and then that other guy's the mayor still. There you go. Bing bang boom.
Bing, bang, boom. Yeah, I don't know if, learning from TV is the right thing to do, but isn't, in Blue Bloods, isn't the police commissioner a civilian technically?
I don't know. I know in Batman he's not. Police Commissioner Gordon.
He's not?
He's a cop for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's all I know about TV. So it could be, it could not be. Maybe it's like if you were a cop. I don't know. You have to get elected the commissioner, or do you get appointed by the mayor?
I think it's an appointment.
So if he, thinking of this guy in Portland being like, I'm the mayor, and I'm also the police commissioner now, bitches, take that. He's like, who's gonna stop me? No one. And they're like, oh my God, he's taking over. It's like Benito Mussolini.
So when he turns on the bat light, he's summoning himself.
Yeah, exactly. Gets a little confusing in the rewrites. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I don't know anything about the hierarchy of police.
Is it
My
the same
dad's-
from city to city? Who knows?
Probably not. And my buddy's dad is a lieutenant in Detroit homicide. I know that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, that's about it. Just a little
Okay.
anecdotal evidence.
A word an hour. Should we ask the 8-ball a question?
Yeah. Will AOC? I've been waiting on this. I grabbed the 8-ball when I asked this question already. Will AOC eventually become the next Nancy Pelosi? This one's a big one. Oh shit. Oh shit. says it is decidedly so. It says it is decidedly so. So we have to do something to prevent this. Now,
or seriously counteract it. Republicans need to fucking get their identity back.
they need a guy. Their only person is like Mitch McConnell or whatever the fuck, you know.
He's a douche.
Like they don't have a hound dog. Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, he's a shithead. He's a shitbag. They don't have anyone who's like, you know, they don't have a attack dog. They need someone who's good at that. But they're spineless anyway. So
Hey,
that's
I'm gonna
scary.
plug.
We just got the end of the world.
So my guy, have you watched Lex Friedman at all?
Yes.
So Lex Friedman just had on the director of the Ayn Rand Institute with Michael Malice.
Oh no way.
It's really
Oh, really?
good,
That's
and
cool.
it's really funny. These guys are cracking each other up, and these
Well,
two
smart guys,
are
yeah.
like brutal with Lex Friedman, you know, because they're both. I mean, if you're the director of the Ayn Rand Institute, arguing is going to be your forte, right? And Malice is a very, very good adversary when it comes to verbal
Orator,
sparring.
Yes.
And
Debate. Yes.
and he just like this poor young guy who's actually brilliant, but just kind of a puppy dog.
He lacks
they-
in the social arena. Yeah. Especially in that side of things. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say social. He's just like a puppy
He's
dog.
kind of autistic a little bit. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that. I just think he's like so
Spectrum-y.
kind-hearted and young,
Oh.
and just doesn't have an adversarial bone in his body.
They attack him. He's like, what the? But I try to be friend here. I try
Anyway.
to make friend, do show, podcast, get views.
He's not
talk
that.
like that,
He's
folks.
not that kind
He
of
doesn't
Russian.
talk like that.
No,
I'm joking,
but
but it is
he's
fun to make
not
fun of him.
culturally not that way either. But anyway,
Correct.
great episode, Charlie and everybody else. Lex Friedman, he's got a great podcast.
I love that. I gotta watch.
He's a brainiac and really really adept at being just a regular guy socially.
Okay.
You don't think so?
Regular guys socially. I think there's some Asperger's-y stuff going on there. Yeah.
Okay, if you interpret it that way, I would just attribute it to he's a total fucking brainiac, and some of these guys
Yeah.
who are that smart just have a difficult time talking like a regular guy. Maybe
No,
that's
you're
the
right.
s-
That's true.
Maybe
too.
that's
I'm
the
not,
same
I'm not,
thing.
It's not a slight. I'm
Okay.
not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What the? I got people who say that to me all the time. They'd be like, "Yeah," I'd be like, "Yeah, that guy's autistic," and they'd be like, "Charlie, don't say that." And I'm like, "You realize that you, by saying that, then are telling me that you think having autism is a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. By you saying that, you're the one that's saying this is bad or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Your
that-
reaction
that-
indicates that you think it's a bad thing. I don't think
That's
that.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But the reason I say it is because
Oh, I'm not saying about you. Sorry.
yeah, no. If he's comes off spectrumy, I think it's because he's a brainiac. Like there are guys, you know, at my work, surrounded by, you know, off the chart IQ engineers who are
You get engineers like
socially
that all the time. There you go.
socially just fucking hilarious, inept, just hilarious. They're all so different. Just like, you know, yeah, it's amusing. Anyway,
There's a guy in my neighborhood who lives up the street. He's like that, but he's a great guy. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's amazing he got married, but yeah, he's awesome. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. We're finishing up the show.
I was gonna say
Wrap it up.
we're just gonna end it on it is decidedly so, and that scares the fucking shit out of me.
That's terrifying.
And on that, what do you say we listen to a little music? Yes? Ooh. I'm going to start the blues song over
Vocalization.
again. All right, man. It's sunny out. I'm hungry.
Me too.
I got a steak in the fridge. It's red meat night.
Oh, steak. Nice. That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Enjoy.
All right, man. And everybody,
Take
all
care.
10 of you, thanks for listening. Over and out. Say goodbye, Charlie.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Chris. Bye. Just a little more blues. And bam. Wait for the harmonica.